Hello and welcome to the Division 2 Season 11 Public Test Server Patch Notes Read Through. So this is something a little bit different. There's not really going to be any visuals accompanying this. I'll just have the patch notes up on the screen. So if you want to read along, you can, but otherwise feel free to minimize this video and just listen along. I'm going to be going through what to expect, what not to expect, and some of my thoughts on it. So this should be a pretty quick video, just going to run through the patch notes with everyone, and I'll also post a link in the description for anyone who wants to read them for themselves. So the first thing is the same note that they have there. Everyone should keep in mind that these features are still being worked on, and so you're probably going to see some weird stuff in the coming days and weeks. And as we all learned with the Brazos de Arquebus gear set, things are bound to change. That's kind of the point of the PTS. Let a group of people in, test it out, try and break it. Once it breaks, hopefully they fix it. So as with Title Update 16, we've got a new brand set and gear set. Brand is Habsburg Guard, aka HG, and it looks like it is a headshot / marksman rifle focused build. One piece gives you 15% headshot damage, 2 pieces gives you 15% marksman rifle damage, and 3 pieces equipped gives 10% status effects. In my head, that's kind of a reversal of the Araldi Holdings 1 and 2 piece, plus a bit more of a skill / status effect flavor with that 3rd piece there. I, for one, am here for it. I enjoy the more hybrid sets, so anything that encourages that is a boon to me. For the chest, you have the Venerable, which has the talent Perfect Trauma, and that is an upgrade on, obviously, the vanilla Trauma. Reduces the cooldown from 30 seconds to 20 seconds each. Then you have the Courier Backpack with Perfect Creeping Death. I think this one's going to excite a lot of people. Definitely excites me, because one of the things that was always a bit of a buzzkill for me on the Creeping Death was the cooldown, which has been reduced on the Perfect variant from 20 seconds to only 10 seconds. And in addition to that, it increases the radius from 5 meters to 10 meters. I'm very curious whether that's going to remain through the entire PTS or if they're going to nerf that a little bit. Fingers crossed that they don't, because that would be really awesome to play with. Moving on, we've got the Hotshot gear set here. 2 pieces equipped gives 30% marksman rifle damage and 30% stability. 3 pieces get you 30% headshot damage. So very similar to aces and eights, if even more powerful now. But then we get very different with the 4-piece talent that is called Headache. So the first headshot with a marksman rifle will increase the next headshot by 20%. Second consecutive headshot with a marksman rifle gives 10% armor. If at full armor, it will give a bonus armor max of 50% of current armor value. And then third consecutive headshot will refill the magazine. From the 4th headshot forward, agents will get all 3 bonuses for each consecutive headshot kill. Missing a headshot will reset the cycle. So my first question is, how well does that work with a shotgun? Probably not super well, given that they're gearing it towards marksman rifles. But I could absolutely see a player more skilled than I running through enemies with these bonuses. But other than that, it's very intriguing. It feels a little bit like Chain Killer mixed with Clutch, and obviously that's overly simplistic and inaccurate, but that's just my initial feel. And then on top of that, you got the chest talent that increases the bonus armor from 50 to 100%, and the backpack talent allows you to miss a headshot. So that is very interesting. I'm wondering how many people are going to forego the chest talent and pair it with Chain Killer. That's something I probably will do and see how that feels. The backpack talent actually feels more unique and or useful, but obviously that's having never used it, so we'll see if I still say that once it comes out to the general population. Alright, let's go into the stuff that you guys have probably been reading on already. We got the exotic weapons, Sacrum Imperium, which is an exotic variant of the G28. With talent The Trap. Tags enemies when in scope up to a maximum of 10. Killing any marked target with a headshot applies 10-second burn status effect and gives 50% speed movement decrease on all other targets. Cooldown is 30 seconds. Killing another enemy with a headshot shortens the cooldown for 10 seconds. Targets are marked after 2 seconds in the scope. So as I read that, I'm getting a flavor of Sledgehammer. Don't mean that in a disparaging way, just drawing comparisons between the marked targets and the decreased movement speed. Feels like a similar mechanic, though obviously very different in terms of how I see this being used. I see this talent as a preparation to an encounter. I'm not sure how well it's going to work during an encounter, given that 2-second requirement to mark targets. Not that that's entirely debilitating, but I could certainly see it working much better as you're sitting in cover, undiscovered, marking up to 10 targets, and then killing a target, and then switching off of this weapon to then go to town with a different weapon. Unless you have to have this weapon equipped for the decreased movement speed to remain in effect, in which case you're just going to go to town with this weapon, which people could definitely do, given that it's a G28 and you have a much higher fire rate than most other marksman rifles. And then one that is not available on the PTS, but I am super excited for, we got the Ninja Bike Messenger Bag. This is probably what I am personally most excited for. I did not play a bunch of Division 1, so I never actually had this, but I did play enough to know that this is a callback or revival from the first game. And obviously a lot of people asked about it when we got the Ninja Bike Messenger knee pads. They asked, are we going to get the bag? We have not up until this point, but it does sound like we're going to with Season 11, and I think it has the exact same talent from the first game. The talent is resourceful, slots in with any equipped gear set and or brand set item to fulfill a requirement towards unlocking gear and or brand set bonuses. And here's the kicker. It allows you to unlock bonuses from multiple sets simultaneously. Obviously, no word yet on what the attributes are going to be, but as soon as we get that information, I will try and get it out to you. And for the penultimate piece of information here, we have a couple of named weapons with a new perfectly focused talent in which killing an enemy with a headshot guarantees that the next shot will be a critical headshot. And this is exclusive for pistols, rifles, and marksman rifles. And it should be noted that that talent name has an asterisk on it, where it says the name is a placeholder, which I do appreciate because otherwise it would be very confusing to differentiate this new talent between it and the current chest piece talent. As it stands, I'm guessing this will feel a bit like a mesh between Chainkiller and the quick draw talent on the Dodge City Gunslinger's holster, insofar as you're going to be looking for headshot kills, and once you do, it'll function similarly to the quick draw talent, just without the additional damage buff, but you will get the critical headshot buff. So that could be quite interesting. And then last but certainly not least, there are some PvP quality of life changes. So even if you don't frequent the Dark Zone, you're probably going to want to pay attention to this. The first two bullets may not apply unless you love PvP and or the Dark Zone, but are interesting in that lower skill tier players can no longer use the jammer against higher skill tier players. I'm assuming this is an attempt to make skill builds viable in a player versus player zone again, as it'll stop a red and blue build, for example, from jamming an all yellow skill build. And then they also apparently fixed an issue where the shrapnel trap was applying PvE damage in PvP. Again, I don't frequent the Dark Zone, so that's not something I was even aware was an issue. But the last bullet here is the most important one for anyone who hasn't completed the raids and wants the exotic weapons from the raids. Exotic weapons can now be received as random loot drops after killing enemies in the Dark Zone. So if you take that bullet at face value, that's super exciting. If you're like me, you don't have the raid exclusive exotic weapons and you would like them so that you can play around with them, now you might have that chance. But if you look at the next three bullets, it's a little confusing. They specifically list the Ravenous, the Bighorn, and the Eagle Bearer. So obviously the Ravenous and the Eagle Bearer, those make sense, those are fine. The Bighorn, slightly confusing because as far as I'm aware, that's not a raid exclusive. Case in point is I have one and I've never completed the raid, so that's a little bit odd. They also do not list the Regulus. They also do not list the Regulus here. So as someone who would like to use a Regulus on a headshot build, I am hoping that this is a typo and the Bighorn is supposed, where the Bighorn is listed, that is supposed to be the Regulus. But it very well might not be, given that the Regulus is a project weapon. But again, I did want to note that is a little odd. I too am confused by the Bighorn being listed there and the Regulus being omitted. but we will just have to wait and see. Obviously, as the coming days and weeks unfold, we'll get more information on this PTS build and what is coming in Season 11. But there you go. That is your early look at it. As I keep rambling on, we'll go ahead and go and scroll down to the known... But there you have it. That is your early look at the PTS Season 11 build. That is your early look at what is to come in Season 11. Good luck to all of you who are testing the PTS. Hope we get some more juicy information. As I ramble on, I'll leave the known issues up there for a second so you can read them if you would like them. But I will say most of those are going to be relevant only for people who are playing the PTS. Everyone else, we hope these issues will be... Oh, wait, fuck. That's a bummer. Well, so one of the things that is disappointing is that the Regulus is not in that list. And as someone who has a headshot build that is dying for a good pistol, would have loved to use it there. But as you can see in the known issues, and I'll go ahead and highlight that line here, the Regulus has a chance to drop in the Dark Zone, which is not intended and will be completely removed for Title Update 17. So unfortunately for anyone looking for the Regulus, you're still going to have to scrap together a group to run a raid. I'm personally a little disappointed. I mean, I'm definitely very disappointed. I'm personally very disappointed by that and objectively a little annoyed. I don't quite understand it. I get that it's a project weapon. Personally, I feel like there would have been a way to achieve that same project feel without making players complete the raids, which I know a lot of us are disappointed by the way those were constructed, specifically the lack of a proper matchmaking system. But that being said, it's still very cool. You're going to get the Ravenous and the Eagle Bearer available in the Dark Zone. I'm sure it's going to flood a lot of us who don't play the Dark Zone normally into those zones, which will likely be a bloodbath in the beginning. But my best advice is hit the Dark Zone in a group if you possibly can and run like the wind if you can't. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. Eventually, you will be able to extract those exotics. So there you go. There it is, the early look at Season 11 and Title Update 17. Let me know in the comments, what are you excited for? What do you want to see? What are you disappointed that isn't in there? As always, drop a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.